Morning, everyone. Welcome once again to our weekly broadcast. Getting started here for our 30 minutes on a Thursday at 10 a.m. David Johnson here, CEO of LEOcrowdfunding, and my co-host partner, Mr. John Corey. Good morning, John.
Good day. How are you?
I'm excellent. Over in London today, as you know. So I think today is the official relaxing of the COVID measures and restrictions. So perhaps a few less masks around outside and a few more people milling around with lack of social distancing.
Yes, I would expect that's happening. And at the same time, I think you'll see an evolution or a gradual change. We're still passing things around to each other, so be careful.
Yes, I think the last thing people want to do is just go completely mad and go back to hugging everyone you see in the street, because we haven't done it for 18 months. Yeah, it'd be a bit random.
Yeah, that could be quite funny too. We're out of practice. Like, how do you do this?
Yeah, well, it was actually strange. Yesterday I had a number of meetings, and the literally was this, you know, do you shake, can we shake hands now? And you almost, it's actually weird, because normal business practice just you almost shake hands, and now there's this even hesitancy to even like go into someone else's space until you're invited. So yeah, that is definitely interesting.
So it reminds me, in my younger years when I moved to the UK, and particularly when I was working in Switzerland a lot, the whole hugging or kissing in both cheeks and all of that. And as an American, you wouldn't do the kissing in both cheeks. It's just not business protocol. And suddenly it's like, oh, okay, so let me see. Do I do it? Do I not do it? Is this that type of meeting or this type of meeting? It's like, and then there was also, do I once or twice? And then I realized sometimes it's 3 times. So I had to start figuring out, like, how do I do this?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And there's the awkwardness, uneasiness. So post-COVID, there might be a slight change in that. People just not as quick, if you like, to greet strangers or people outside bubbles, if you like, in that way. So it'll be interesting. So yeah, I'm actually looking at the window here, 11th floor of a hotel, and I can actually just see the Shard. So I can probably spot your apartment, John, from here.
I'm in the other building, but it's close to the Shard. Yes.
Yeah,
I look at the Shard.
I can see the Shard, so I can see buildings around the Shard. So one of those must be your building. But anyway, we digress. You see, Hietesh is joining us. Morning, Hietesh.
Morning, guys. How are you? Sorry for the delay.
Right. That's okay. Very well indeed. So we'll get straight in here. Obviously, you'll be up in a few minutes, Hietesh. So let's get straight into today. Everyone knows John and I host this, and we'll just dive straight into the market update in terms of an interesting topic of conversation, and the one that has been chosen by Brenda in the office today, John, is around, well, inflation. Annual house price inflation hits 10%. I think maybe a good thing, John, is perhaps explain the impact that inflation, being high or low, has on the property market. That might be a good place to start.
Well, there is a technical definition of inflation. It tends to be per country. It has some correlation or heavy connection to consumer prices. At the same time, there's different manifestations. You could argue that computers have had negative inflation since the start of computing, because every year the computer gets better and the price doesn't go up. So this idea that maybe your cash, your money buys less, is what I think most of the indexes tend to sort of reflect, that the basket of goods bought through normal means costs more than it used to. So therefore you have to spend more money to get the same amount of stuff. Now, from a house price inflation, this tends to be associated with house prices are higher. The inflation rate in the economy and the inflation rate in houses doesn't tend to match. We've had strong house price growth for many years, and we didn't have hardly any inflation. So the word gets bandied about a lot, and it's a bit of a problem. And also, when you come to the, I don't know this survey, the ONS survey, when you look at house prices, are you looking at what sold? And if only high-end houses sold and low-end houses didn't, Would that skew the numbers? I mean, I don't know how they sample it. ONS is pretty good, so they might do some things to accommodate or adjust for that. There's other indexes that talk about the applications for mortgages. And it's not actually the sales prices of houses, it's the application for houses, for mortgages. And they can be quite skewed around. So 10%, yeah, it's probably higher than normal. If someone said prices double in 10 years, it would be 7% roughly. But this is not that interesting as far as I'm concerned. 10% house inflation. We're in COVID. There's a lot of things that are all over the map.
Yeah, I was going to say there's lots of metrics that are changing, and a lot of metrics are perhaps skewed given the last 16 to 20 months we've had, and therefore it's hard to know. In a normal market, then those figures may have more meaning, or you could take more out of them and make assumptions out of them. But it's hard to make assumptions out of skewed figures.
Well, and also, as much as ONS or anyone tries to do a very good job of collating the data, if a lot of buyers all switch from smaller city center to larger country homes, metaphorically going from like where I go to work versus now I'm going to work from where I'm living, you're probably buying a bigger place by definition.
Yeah.
You might be buying a more expensive place. What does that do to the data? Is it a one-year blip? I don't know.
Okay, so there we are. So you officially have it today. John's response to house price inflation is, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that's exactly the key takeaway. It's hard to read too much into these things. So that sort of leads on actually to our question for this week. So I suppose people are seeing lots of comments in the press. People are seeing people making predictions based on things like inflation and amount of new mortgage applications, etc. So the trend is breaking records, annual growth rate highest for 6 years. In your estimation, is this maybe indicating another boom and bust cycle or not?
So if I was a writer, which I've occasionally done, and I was trying to sell more newspapers, magazines, get more clicks on LinkedIn or whatever, then I would write about this. If I was a landlord, I might not really care. So one of the things that's interesting, when house prices fall, the bust part of a cycle, if there is such a thing as a cycle, people say, oh, prices are falling, I better not sell, better not buy, better not do anything, I'm gonna stay where I am. What that tends to do is drive up rents because people aren't buying. When prices are going up, oh my God, tenants are moving out, they're becoming owners. Rents actually many times get soft if prices are going up. But in both cases, landlords win. So in the first one, rents are higher, even if the value of the asset's lower, landlord wins. Second one, assets value is higher, rents are a little soft or maybe flat or declining and not going up as much, landlord wins. So how do you avoid the boom and bust cycles such that you don't have to care about it? Be a landlord and don't over leverage. If you have too much debt, you might get caught out. But if you have a comfortable level of debt or less, like none of this matters.
Yeah, would you add there, John, that also have a longer term strategy, i.e. you're going to win either way, but if you're in for the long haul, if your model is all about buy and hold, then obviously if rents drop, that might affect your income. If your strategy is all about I'm just going to fix up and sell, but then the market tanks, then that will obviously affect your strategy. So certainly for those in for the long haul, that just can benefit in either market is probably a factor as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And if you lengthen your hold period, then a lot of sins will get covered up, so to speak. And you'll remember you bought at this number, you sold at that number. Oh, wow, I had a profit. And what happened in that 10, 20 years that you held for, it's all over the map. Now, this sort of will lead to Hietesh a bit in that if you have a short-term strategy, not bad, just your business model is short, as in you're buying, you're adding value, you're selling, you're buying, you're constructing from ground up, you're selling, you are much more exposed to what, I'd argue there aren't even cycles, but you're much more exposed to what's going on in the market and prices at that time. And you may get caught out a bit when it comes to, we intended to sell after 18 months, at 18 months, COVID happened, or 18 months, prices weren't where they were before, so people are pulling back. That definitely affects people who are expecting to get in and get out, because liquidity dries up. You can't get the price you wanted. You end up having to sit on it. Your capital's tied up. The clock's ticking on your development loan, whatever. So yes, as David, you were just highlighting, it's very sensitive to short-term strategy can get caught out by the crosswinds. Long-term strategies, what crosswinds?
Okay, no, some really good points there. Thank you for that. So again, to remind people, if you have any questions you want to pose to John, tap into his many years of wisdom and his expertise in compliance and property investment and development, etc. Then fire us an email with your question, and we'll endeavor to
put it in the Q&A.
Or put it in the Q&A, yes, and we can always ask it next event.
And
sure.
If you're watching this on YouTube, put it down below.
Correct. Good point. So last week we had on Tina and from Target 5, as we talked about our first project successfully paying back. That was certainly an exciting broadcast we were able to do, and the investors have received their initial capital back, and they're slightly over the original target ROI. So a lot of very happy investors and a happy fundraiser. So that was really great. And it's absolutely fantastic that today we can talk about the next project that is about to pay back. Now, the shareholders in this project have not yet been notified of the details of the payback. Therefore, we obviously will not be going into the minute detail this week. Next week, we'll give you the figures. But there is a private shareholder investor webinar planned with Hietesh and the team on Monday night. So if you invested in Plough Hill View, you'll get an email today inviting you to register for a private shareholder webinar with Hietesh on Monday night at 7 p.m. By that time, your money will be in your e-wallet, and Hietesh will talk you through the numbers and the payback, etc. But Hietesh, if you're there now and can come on camera if possible.
Very possible, yes.
There he is.
I'm on a site actually, so absolutely fine. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, you're on a site currently out on the road.
Yes, I've found a quiet corner.
Okay.
You won't find like more optimum than this right now. So
yeah. Okay. No, that's fantastic. Thanks for jumping in briefly. So yeah, I'm sure you're absolutely delighted that Plough Hill View is ready for payback. All been approved for payback. Yes. So you have a nice smile on your face from a project completed and well done.
Yes, actually, yes, we're very proud of the project, and it took us a couple of months more than we would have ideally wanted, but learnings, exiting a project is not that easy, and there were certain challenges which we've overcome together, David.
Yeah, excellent.
So making sure we're compliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I have just some pictures here. So we'll just run through these quite quickly, and then there's a video of the completed project, some drone footage. So let's just flick through these slides here, and you can make some comments as we go through. I think there's sort of 4 or 5 of them.
Yep.
Remind me, when did you go on site? When did you actually sort of get bodies on site with this project?
2nd October 2020.
October. Okay. Yep.
We completed the raise on 28th September. We were in funds by the 11th of October. We started 2nd of October. Is because we had an LOI signed and the contract done in September. So yeah, 2nd October 2020.
Okay, and remind me and the attendees the purpose for the raise. What was it that the raise allowed you to do?
Oh, but you remember we talked a lot about the fact that we're raising 100K, the money that we don't need. We already have senior debt in place. We bought the land in cash, so we're just going out there to make ourselves visible. But nobody knew what we were looking forward to in terms of how material management would be done in the coming few months. And the raise, the money from the raise was utilized very effectively to forward purchase a lot of material and to really restrict ourselves to about just the 4 to 5% over and above the budget price within the contingency pricing. And now where most of the developers and friends faltered was they were doing projects based upon the fact that they have the money from the lender only, with no input from their own side. Now they can't forward purchase anything. They cannot really buy from over the counter in cash. Now, if you're working in this market in credit from the likes of Billbase and B&Qs, if you have a credit account, one, you have to wait longer for the material to be delivered on site because you're in a queue. Now, if you go, with a card, with a bank which has money in it, and you want to buy it off the counter, everybody's happy to do that. And instead of waiting 2 months to 3 months for the cash flow to be generated, when the prices would again escalate by another 10% or 5%, it just doesn't stop. That vicious circle doesn't stop. So what we did was we bought the timber off of the contract from the contractor. We spoke to the contractor, made an amendment, we bought the timber in cash with the help of the money that we had and with certain help from the lender as well. And that's how we had the timber on site in early January. Otherwise, there was a long wait. The timber, if you were working on a credit market, we'll pay as you go kind of facility. We could forward purchase toilet fixtures. We could forward purchase kitchens. We had to, kitchen was another story. But yes, small little pot of cash just helps you run the project so effectively. If you're dependent only on the lender's money, and this is a scenario of live and learn. You won't finish a project. You have to fund the project for a couple of months, and then the lender money starts coming in. The IMS takes their own time. Everybody has their checks and practices in place. You will be cut short by certain valuations. The contractor might not be happy. So you need to have that delta with you always to fund the project at any point in time required.
Yeah, so the takeaway there is that because you had raised some money from the crowd, you actually had liquid cash that allowed you to forward purchase some material.
Absolutely.
And in the environment of COVID and uncertainty over materials, this just gives you a solution to what was a problem. So it's a big takeaway. So this is just some photographs during it. So just again, remind everyone the amount of units and where this project is.
5 units, 4 semis, 1 detached, Nuneaton, Galley Common, and this is right on Plough Hill Road. Oh, nostalgia. This is March last year, I think. Yeah. So March this year, sorry. Oh, last year, sorry. 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and 5 units, fully fitted out with kitchens and toilets, fully automated switch sockets and switches, all of that. Everything that we had promised initially, we'd been able to deliver by the end of the day to the end customer. We've sold a few units, we've refinanced a few units, the details of which will be shared in a couple of days, I think.
So the original idea was to use some more windows for families, so you have brighter light, a coating on a lot of the surfaces that dealt with bacteria or other germs, and also better control systems for energy efficiency and sort of smart management. Those are all things that happened in the actual build.
Those are actual things. They happened on the build, and we had hoardings up for the products that we use. We've marketed that way. People have come in, and there's a family now living there. There is a family that is completing with us. There's a family that is completed but not moved yet. So all's happening. They know what the product looks like, and I'm sure David, with what Stan did a few days back, if you show those images, I was very happy to see those images. The drone shot from as far as possible, and the houses stand out as against another 100 odd houses being built. But when we get to the finished product, you'll get to know we had shared perspectives when we started doing this project. And I know every developer wants to achieve as close to the perspective as possible. And they do, most of them do. And this is one of those projects, one of those many projects where the perspective came into life. The CGIs came to life. Every small little detail on that elevation came to life.
And was there any sort of key takeaways, just that, or maybe just for learning points? Was there any, you want to just sort of maybe pick one thing that you feel would be beneficial for people just to hear about the project that maybe you weren't expecting, and then how you dealt with it?
Manage your contracts, manage your contractor. Have a good contract administrator on board. Make sure you're not giving loose instructions. Make sure everything is documented contractually and not just on emails. There are ways, if you're doing a certain sizable project, instructions need to go out in a certain fashion. You need to know that. You need to have the right resources by your side. You cannot do everything yourself. I keep saying that. And if nobody's doing anything, then yes, you're the first person to bounce upon it. But have a good contract administrator, have a good QS on site, basically have a good team representing yourself, and run it like a CEO instead of getting into micromanaging the project yourself.
Okay. And there's just a couple of photographs. We'll go to the drone footage now. And if anyone's any questions, get them in the Q&A now. If you want to ask Hietesh particularly about this project, there's some of the latest photographs, obviously, with these all done up. And just again, point out how many are sold and how many are still in the market of these.
2. By definition, 2 have been sold.
Okay.
3 are still on the market.
Okay. So let's go to some drone footage. I want to give a shout out to Stan McCrell Media, who went there on Saturday morning. I think it was a test, didn't he? Got
Yes.
the scrape of dawn Saturday morning,
yeah.
and went there when the sun rose, nice clear skies, and managed to get to shoot this footage for us, which we want to obviously show a longer version on Monday night to the shareholders. But just a sneak preview. Let's just play a bit of this. Hopefully this plays for us. There we are. And if anyone's needing drone footage of a project, get in touch with us and put you in touch with Stan McCrell Media. It is a little bit bizarre. Hietesh smiled to myself because I still remember Ray on our first live project we did when we were looking to raise funds, and Ray was live on site. There was just grass. There was a big puddle of water. One of the questions on the webinar that night was, how are you going to deal with a big puddle of water in the middle of the site? And here we are 15 months later, completed the project. Listen, fantastic, but I'm sure you've enjoyed the journey.
Yeah, you know what I'm glad about is that puddle of water is not there anymore.
I'm sure those that bought the houses are pretty happy about that as well.
Absolutely. There are not even puddle of waters on what we built now, So fingers crossed. But yes, everything, too many rains we've seen already in the project, and things have panned out really fine. So happy with the delivery. And yes, just so that everybody knows, we've been selling on asking prices and no discounts, and that's why we're just sitting our ground on these. There's nothing. I say this as a developer, obviously, everyone says this, but there's nothing of this quality, of this caliber available in a 5-mile radius, is what the 2 people who bought the house have told me. They scouted the market completely. They're locals from there. They said nothing's available of this caliber. People with cats have had problems because there's a road right in front. I can't do anything about that, right? So they've come back with complaints that my cats are in danger, so you might not be able to, but we love the house. So we've got positive reviews from everybody who's seen the house so far. But yes, so really happy about what we've been able to achieve.
Okay, listen, absolutely fantastic. Thank you for taking time out to join us today. We just thought it was worth sharing that. So project complete. We've been given approval for the payback to the investors. The shares have been bought back by the SPV. The details of that will be shared firstly with the shareholders on Monday night at 7 p.m. So again, if you invested in this project, you'll know you can either attend that or get the recording. And yeah, it's going to be really good to have the interaction between the shareholders and you, the developer, on Monday night. I think, John, just to wrap this up before we conclude, it's one of the benefits of this type of investing, where you become a shareholder and therefore you're entitled to this level of interaction from the developer. You're not a passive, lender. You're actually a shareholder. Therefore, there's an onus on the developer to update you.
Well, I mean, there is in this. I was an investor in this project, or still am, and so looking forward to Monday's session. I also want to flip it on the other side, that there is a balance. That one of the nice things about using the platform is everybody gets the same information. You don't have to chase the developer and make phone calls, and you don't bog the developer down. So if you're a developer, you know that all the information is being disseminated in a consistent fashion. If you're a shareholder, you know that everybody's getting the same deal. And if I don't read the update, I can go back and look at it because it's all logged in a sort of regulated way. So it just makes a lot of things cleaner, and also makes it easy to have. I think, Hietesh, the original slide here showed 41 investors. Well, that makes, 41 phone calls would not be fun, but having the platform facilitate all that makes it a whole lot easier in the developers.
Oh yes, it makes it so much more easier, John. It goes without saying, and the platform has been there with us, chasing up for monthly reports. And to be honest, we were not the ideal fundraiser. There had to be a couple of chases, a few months, that plainly because we were just too caught up on site. But yes, every month they used to chase up for our reports, and looking after the investors, we used to then obviously reciprocate, even if it took us a couple of days. And I'll acknowledge that is because in the peak of the project, paperwork gets lost, and the platform made sure that the processes and the systems put in place were not lost there. And the monthly reports did go out on every month, and investors were updated about it through pictures, through whatever little text we could send in terms of, yes, this is the update, Brenda, if you can deal with this much information, let us get along with the project. And then she'd still chase for more information. And yeah, so by the end of the day, when you look at all that database, all those reports, the MIS that was put in place, it is a very nice history to have in place, which is set in stone on emails. Everybody knows what was happening. And, per charts being updated, risk registers being updated, monthly reports being formulated. We're only getting better because the team is getting bigger. We have project managers, not one now, but 4 of them with us. We have, so we're getting there. We have a documentation controller now. So,
yeah, which is all positive, going the right direction. Just to finish on this point, because you make a very good point about the record, if you like, of the project. And John makes the point a lot that people did in this project invest £100. Just so they could have a backseat view of the project. They received a shareholder agreement, which they're able to look at, but they also now have whatever it is, 15 or 16 monthly updates, which gives any new information. But also, you were discussing things like lessons learned or how we overcame challenges. So someone can simply, if they wanted to, could print those out. So double-sided A4, have it in a wee folder, and actually just chronologically go through the project, see where the challenges rows, see where you solved them, and right through to the finished project with video links.
It doesn't make a difference because there's no classification. You invested £100 or you invested £50,000, you get the same amount of information, you get the same amount of database, you get the same run of the entire MIS. So get on board and see how a project. You keep saying this, David, that it's more a learning exercise, and I couldn't vouch for that more after this project has been done with, because we've treated everybody the same. All 41 investors were sent out the same information at the same amount of time on the same day and date. Nobody was given any free pass, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, listen, Hietesh, brilliant. Thank you very much, and look forward, obviously, to having you on Monday night. And
thank you so much for having me.
No problem. You've obviously another project that we're obviously preparing now for you. So those who enjoyed this experience, may be ready to have a look at your next project and back you again on your next one, which is one of the benefits of doing multiple deals. So okay, so just finishing off on a couple of slides. Today we have our next project going live for investment. Last week, if you remember, we had on AJ, part of the or the founder and MD of the PLMD group of companies, and Hietesh was on, or AJ was on last week, and he went through his strategy around rent to rent or build to rent, and building his strategy of assets under management, which is really impressive. And I'm sure everyone, I know we got a lot of feedback from people who really liked his story and what he's done. So this project in Chadwell Heath, a build to rent project that's already been built. It's been rented for a number of years. So this is like an income type project. It's a projected ROI of 24% over 24 months. The share dividend will be paid quarterly. So John, that's an interesting sort of angle that people actually can treat this almost as an income type investment. Obviously it's projected, but the rent keep coming in, then they get a cash flow back on their investment, which is obviously attractive.
Whether it's attractive or not, I think the key is this is a buy and hold type investment, but it has a limited duration. It's not forever. And it's very similar to just owning a buy-to-let or a single-let or any other HMO, whatever rental property where the work's already done, the property's rented, you're just buying the income stream. And in this case, by being one of the crowd investors, you're getting a slice of the income stream, and you're also knowing that all the management, all the rest of it belongs to someone else. Someone else is on the loan, you don't have to do any work. So people do need to read all the information, your capital's at risk, and you have to understand what that means. But fundamentally, this is a buy and hold style investment for a share of the income.
Mm-hmm. And this goes live at 12 noon. So a number of people have registered their interest. But just to remind people, just because you recorded your interest or register interest, that's not making the pledge. You still have to go on at 12 o'clock today and actually obviously select and press the button that you're interested to pledge on this project. And then, of course, the shareholder agreements gets issued for you to accept before the investment is transacted. So 12 noon today. If there are any questions, last minute questions, you can go to the forum. And I know AJ and the team are available to answer any last minute questions. Of course, go to the landing page, download the equity offer document if you haven't done that already. And you can also reach out to Dal, our investment portfolio manager. So he's just at Dal, D-A-L, at LEOcrowdfunding.com. And he's on standby to deal with any questions. So live today, 12 noon, is the Becontree Avenue Chadwell Heath project. And then the next one on the line is another one from Target 5. If you remember, we paid back on one of their projects just a week or so ago, and their next one is being prepared. This will probably be the next one that goes live. It's an HMO mixed use conversion. They're going to do it up and sell it. So whenever that goes view deal, you'll be able to access the information on this one. And we have a couple of behind the curtain deals happening at the minute. So it's all hands to the pump for our team, which is great. If you haven't already, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We're still on a final push to get us over the line on a number target that we have. So please, if you haven't already, go there immediately after this webinar and subscribe for us, and you'll be able to see literally over 100 pieces of content on our YouTube channel. Really a wealth of information. And that is us for today. John, any last minute comments before we wrap up?
No, I mean, it's always good to hear projects finishing. It's one thing to hear them start, it's another thing to hear them finish. And hopefully people learn some things along the way. This is a learn and earn type environment where every time you invest, you'll probably learn something else. And during the COVID period, there were certainly things to learn. One thing that Hietesh didn't exactly say, but is true about that project was it's very much more of a timber frame offsite So the efficiencies you get from that. And I think we'll see more and more projects where panelized construction or other styles where you can minimize the supply chain hiccups.
Okay, yeah, no doubt about that more on Monday night. So, okay, everyone, thanks very much. So those interested in Becontree, obviously, you've 12 o'clock. Keep an eye on that, and just make sure you're aware of how the pledging's going if it is a project you're interested in. And we look forward to seeing you all again next Thursday. The guest next week is Latoya McDonald, an interesting background in property, originally from, I can't remember, is it New Zealand or Australia? New Zealand, yeah, New Zealand. So now she's a property professional over there, now working here, professional, really good story. So she is the guest next week at 10 a.m. on Thursday. So good luck, everyone. Have a good rest of Thursday. Have a good weekend. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.